Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Pain Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. Jay Kelly, the new film from Academy Award nominee Noah Baumbach. George Clooney stars as an actor confronting his past and present on a journey of self-discovery, alongside Adam Sandler as his devoted manager. Critics are calling it a declaration of love to the chaotic art of filmmaking, with the Wall Street Journal praising it as a transcendent comedy drama. Watch Jay Kelly December 5th, only on Netflix.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
I do want to ask you about an attack line from Republicans, because this is a comment you made in 2020 about Nashville. It's gotten a lot of attention in the race. Let's listen to this.
I hate the city. I hate the bachelorettes. I hate the pedal taverns. I hate country music. I hate all of the things that make Nashville, apparently, an it city to the rest of the country, but I hate it.
I know you said those comments were taken out of context, but I want to ask you about it, because I'm wondering, do you think it was a mistake to say that?
Once again, I was a private citizen. Nashville is my home. Do I roll my eyes at the bachelorette parties and the pedal taverns that are blocking my access to my house? Yeah, every Nashvilleian does. But this race has always been about something bigger. It's about families across Middle Tennessee that are getting crushed by rising prices, while Washington politicians and billionaires argue about this type of nonsense.
They created these districts to be uncompetitive, but they don't understand Tennessee. They don't understand the South. They don't understand our stubborn hope of people who have been underestimated for decades. We ran on the belief that our story in Tennessee is bigger than the cynicism that has held this state hostage for decades.
And she lost. James Golden here, Bo Snerdley. Welcome to the Wednesday edition, my friends, of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. That, of course, the Afton woman, Afton Bain, who, if Afton Bain would have won last night, the front pages of the MSM, the mainstream media in this country, would be orgasmic. There would be huge headline, extensive coverage. What does this mean? The death of the Republican Party. What does this mean? Trump failing. He supported. All of that would have been just splattered all over every single news outlet in America. Instead, you have to search out the details of the race. She lost handily. And just quickly, before we move on from that story on to two other things, let's check in. I always love listening to Scott Jennings take apart liberal thinking. Scott Jennings, cut 6 on the Afton phenomenon and the aftermath of the race.
Well, first of all, there's lessons to be learned from everything. When you win, there's lessons. When you lose, there's lessons. And so I'm sure they'll look and see who turned out and what messages were effective and which ones weren't, and that'll be something the party can move going forward. It's an off-year special election. The turnout matrix is far different than a presidential, and it'll be different than what comes out in November. So you can take nothing for granted, of course, and Republicans do have historical headwinds. I still think they are in position to make an argument that their economic theories are better than the Democrats' theories. And Democrats, after all, took prices to the moon, and now they want to forget the last 4 years and pretend like this just started 10 months ago. I think most voters know that's patently ridiculous. I do have a slight disagreement with David. I do think we'll hear from her again. I think she'll run again, and I think she and her brand of politics are the median Democrat. This is the basic Democrat you're going to get in most races around the country. This person running on defund the police, radical progressive positions, whether you're in Nashville or Manhattan or Florida or California, wherever you happen to be, this is what the Democratic base wants. The most cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs person they can find. And they're going to look at these results and say, hey, this is how we got so close, so let's replicate it around the country. I think we'll hear from her and her kind for the next year. I don't think it'll be good for Democrats.
But can I ask you on that? Because you said that she ran on defund the police. There were her past comments on that, but she said that that was basically when she was a private citizen, before she was representing the state legislature. I mean, that wasn't like a core tenet of her campaign. She talked about affordability. So I think my question is do you really think that's what every Democrat looks like? I mean, I don't think that was the main, that was something that a criticism of hers, obviously, in past comments, but that wasn't the, tenet of her campaign or anything.
She got asked about it repeatedly and refused to back away from it. And look, I'm just telling you, this is what Democrats believe and this is what their base wants. It's why she wouldn't go back on it. I was just a private citizen. Oh, my gosh, we've never held what you said as a private citizen against you in a political campaign. For goodness sakes, what a ridiculous way to just maintain a position that nobody likes. This is the median Democrat position. She is the median Democrat candidate, and that's what their base wants. So that's what we're in for, and Republicans need to draw bright lines on this stuff in every race in the country.
Yeah, we'll see what the takeaways are. Scott Jennings, David Urban.
Yeah, we'll see what the takeaways are, right? Now, the winner of the race, Representative Mac Van Epps, was interviewed on Fox. And this race wasn't, and it was presented as neck and neck, as they usually do when the mainstream media is trying to propel through their coverage a Democrat to win a race. It's neck and neck. We don't know what the outcome is going to be. This could be a bellwether. This could decide the fortunes of the Republican Party if they lose. Setting it all up. It wasn't even close. True, it was not the 20-point gap that early polling showed, but it wasn't close. And this is Representative Matt Van Epps, who won the race. Cut 5. This is him.
Thank you to President Trump for his early and strong endorsement. It made all the difference in this race. It carried us to victory, and we could not be happier with this resounding win.
Tennessee Republican Matt Van Epps celebrating his victory over far-left Democrat Afton Bain in yesterday's special congressional election, and the congressman-elect joins us now. Sir, congratulations. I always thought you were going to win. Did it feel closer to you, though, than you would have imagined when you first won the primary?
We loved our margin of victory. It was a resounding win. I'm so grateful for the president's early and strong support. And the president brought his entire political operation behind us, MAGA Inc., the full operation, and it propelled us to victory. And I was so grateful for that. I was introduced last night by Governor Bill Lee. I served in his administration as a commissioner, so thankful for his support, for Senator Blackburn and Senator Hagerty, the entire Tennessee delegation. We had really just incredible backing and support and momentum, and we're very happy with the results.
Yeah, it should be. And it wasn't close despite the mainstream media doing their best. Okay, turning the page. Ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I spoke about something, and this is going to be a big issue if the administration follows through. It's a SNAP, the welfare program formerly known as food stamps. Joe Biden entered. It has increased dramatically in the Biden years, swelled. I believe the numbers are from 16 million people on it, or it could have been a little bit higher than that, but has swelled now to 42 million people, as we are always reminded. In February, the Republican Party asked every state in the union, send us the data. Who's actually getting SNAP? We want to look through that data, and we're looking for fraud. They found massive fraud. Already, you know the story going on in Minnesota, which we'll touch on. Massive fraud, over $1 billion in food services. So today, one of the most asinine political statements I've ever heard in my life, totally an asinine statement, came from New York's governor, Kathy Hochul, when she was asked why she would not and is not providing the data, as many Democrat states are doing. They are hiding the data of who they are actually spending your tax dollars on. This was that interview, and inside this interview, one of the most asinine political statements I have ever heard in my life.
Talk about cuts from Washington. Just yesterday, the Secretary of Agriculture said that they're debating withholding some funds that would allow Democrat-run states to fund the SNAP program. You've obviously been against that. But what they're saying in Washington is we just want the rolls of people that are on public assistance. You've been resistant about that. Several states have, by the way, more than 20. Why not just say, okay, here are the names of the recipients?
Let me tell you what's going on here. We actually went to court about this because people sign up for a particular program not to have their name in a, think about, do you really want every bit of information about you in other parts of the government monitoring you and tracking what you do? I mean, this is a privacy issue as well. Even if you're on SNAP and getting nutrition benefits like 42 million Americans do, does that mean that your privacy should be invaded now and that you should be giving out this information unrelated to this program? So we went to court. A judge in October said, governors of these states, you are correct. You do not have to turn over this information, and they cannot withhold that money. Now, to have a secretary in the Trump administration basically saying we're going to ignore a court order, that is problematic. That is problematic, and that's what we're dealing with right now.
What are your concerns other than just privacy?
Privacy is a big one. Privacy is a big one. Now, we are working on the fraud issues. It's something we monitor at the state level. We don't want anyone to abuse programs. But basically, to end a program for everybody in the expectation you might find a few who are abusing it, don't you care about everybody else who's hungry? The mayor-elect Mondani told me that on Veterans Day, he was sitting down with some veterans who had been had a hard life. One of them said when the SNAP benefits stopped, he went to his refrigerator and it was empty. And that is a heartbreaking story to know that those who wear a uniform to keep us safe at night, to defend our country and our values, can't count on a program to feed them. So that is just cruelty. They need to stop trying to find ways to hurt Americans.
So here's the premise. And aside from the story about the veteran, which I'm sure we all agree is sad and shouldn't happen, when Democrats shut down the government, they didn't care who suffered from it. Let's just put that out there because it's true. But here's the argument that this woman makes, and woman governor makes, Kathy Hochul, makes the argument that if you apply to the federal government for welfare that is from the largesse of every American taxpayer pays into the system, therefore, your name shouldn't be shared with the federal government because you have privacy. So you can get federal money, but the federal government shouldn't know who you are when you're applying for federal money to pay your welfare. Because the government has no right to know. It's a violation of your privacy. When you apply, when you raise your hand and you say, I want money, I want to live off the largesse of the American taxpayer. I need to. I'm in a hard way. I need for the taxpayers to pay my food bill or whatever other welfare I have. The argument from Kathy Hochul is that it is a matter of privacy. The federal government should not be able to ask who is actually getting the money. You have privacy, and your privacy trumps the government knowing who you are when you apply for government welfare. This is absolutely asinine. It's stupid, and we all know the reason that Democrats are hiding the information. They don't want Americans to actually see how much of their taxpayer money gets spent on illegal immigrants, how much of their taxpayer money is wasted. And this is such a problem that Democrats in almost every blue state there is, or blue city, want to keep the numbers secret to keep the taxpayer from knowing where their money is really sent, because the recipients of the money, in some cases, we are probably talking about people that don't even live in this country, had no right to come to this country, have privacy, and the American people and the government of the American people shouldn't know who they are. Just hand over your damn money. This is insanity. James Golden, Snerdley.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Looking for financial insights you can trust?
How do you protect yourself as an investor? What's the strategy?
I think it's really simple. I think you just want to be diversified in your portfolio.
The Payne family brings real-world experience to every conversation.
Well, I think that's the problem right now is, right, a lot of people that are close to retirement, they're taking so much risks. And if we do get a big sell-off, it could derail their retirement.
Listen to the Payne Points of Wealth on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
James Golden, known popularly as Bo Snerdley.
This is The Rush Hour with James Golden.
Rush.
The Los Angeles City Council, whatever that thing they call themselves is, has decided that ICE agents can no longer wear masks. They have banned masks in ICE agents. Now, some of you may be stunned. How does the city council, the state did it too, how does the state or a city council decide what federal, they don't. They don't decide what federal policy is. So this will obviously end up in court. It's just part of what goes on in California. I have sound bites here that I have not been able to play just because of the time constraints from an incident that took place in Stockton, California a few days ago. Birthday party for a little child, little baby, a 2-year-old, 3-year-old, something, 2 or 3-year-old. And 11 people ended up shot. It was an outdoor party. We have sound bites from the woman who threw the party for her child. Some of her relatives were killed in it. We have a soundbite from one of the fathers that lost, and he just describes the horror of watching his son die. It's imprinted in his brain. 11 people shot in Stockton, California. It is a horrible story. And every time I see that story, I am reminded that among the horrors in California is a governor who unilaterally decided that people that commit such outrageous acts like this mass shooting that kill kids, he just cleared out California's death row. I mean, they didn't do any executions anyway, one or two. The last, they managed to kill the black guy, Snooki, back a few years ago. He was a gangbanger. And then some other guy, that was it, in the last, I don't know how many decades. But they just said, screw it. Jury decides on death penalty. We liberals know better. Screw it. California is a lawless hell unless you are wealthy and can escape from it. And everything Democrats do makes it worse.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Now, I'm getting so many comments about the Kathy Hochul story, the privacy in. She claims we can't share, New York State cannot share its welfare data. Who is living off the government teat on food stamps? She can't share that data with the federal government who's providing the money because the welfare recipients on food stamps have privacy rights. So we can't share the information of who's getting food stamps, who's getting SNAP with the federal government, not with newspapers, not with the public, with the government that is delivering the money. She can't share it with them because it would violate the people's privacy. Now, she doesn't have any privacy concerns when people are caught on camera, let's say with their congestion pricing scheme. She doesn't go out and talk about privacy issues when the criminal class is perp walk even before they're convicted on something. What about their privacy? But oh no, if you get welfare from the federal government, then you have an expectation of privacy according to Kathy Hochul. It is a completely asinine argument, and the reason she's making the asinine argument is to cover who is actually getting food stamps, SNAP benefits. And she calls it cruel to suggest that unless the federal government, rightfully so, who's using this, that they withhold funds. All right, yesterday we played the short version. Today we will play the long version, and then we will play the response. Cut 2, and then back to back, cut 1, and then we will fulfill our mission. I don't have to make any more comments about this because I made comments about it yesterday. But in the interest of just keeping up with the news, we will once again remind you of what was said yesterday and the reaction from it. Cut 2 and then cut 1, Carlos.
And they contribute nothing. The welfare is like 88%. They contribute nothing. I don't want them in our country, I'll be honest with you. Okay? Somebody would say, oh, that's not politically correct. I don't care. I don't want them in our country. Their country is no good for a reason. Their country stinks, and we don't want them in our country. I can say that about other countries, too. I can say it about other countries, too. We don't want them to hell. We have to rebuild our country. You know, our country's at a tipping point. We could go bad. We're at a tipping point. I don't know if people mind me saying that, but I'm saying it. We could go one way or the other, and we're going to go the wrong way if we keep taking in garbage into our country. Ilhan Omar is garbage. She's garbage. Her friends are garbage. These aren't people that work. These aren't people that say, let's go, come on, let's make this place great. These are people that do nothing but complain. They complain. And from where they came from, they got nothing. You know, they came from paradise, and they said, this isn't paradise. But when they come from hell, and they complain, and do nothing but bitch, we don't want them in our country. Let them go back to where they came from and fix it. Thank you very much, everybody.
He's always been a racist, a bigot, a xenophobic, and Islamophobic. We know that he called African nations hole in his first administration. We know that when he came down that escalator, he said he was going to stop Muslim immigration into this country. And so it is not surprising that he is going after black immigrants in this country. And it's certainly not surprising that he's choosing a black immigrant community that is also Muslim. But what I would like to say is that most of us are citizens. On our passport, it says we are nationals of this country. We love that Minnesota has welcomed us. Many of us have not been settled in Minnesota. We chose it as a home because the Minnesota people and the state is beautiful and very welcoming. And we are going to be here regardless of what the president has to say.
Yeah, okay. And along with it, I hope that the investigations continue into what has taken place. Now, she mentioned Islamophobia. I rarely talk about Islamophobia. I really talk about area concerning Islam on the program. I very rarely talk about any one religion and single it out. Islam in particular. I do want to play something, though, that Marco Rubio said. I thought this was the clearest, one of the clearest explanations yet of what the thinking is when it comes to radical Islam. Radical Islam. And I thought Marco Rubio, he was Hannity interviewed him. He did a great job explaining what the position is of this administration when it comes to radical Islam, and I'll share that with you.
Ultimately, all radical Islamic movements in the world identify the West writ large, but the United States in particular, as the greatest evil on the earth. And every chance they have, the notion that somehow radical Islam would be comfortable with simply controlling some province in Iraq or Syria is just not borne out by history. Radical Islam has shown that their desire is not simply to occupy one part of the world and be happy with their own little caliphate. They want to expand. It's revolutionary in its nature. It seeks to expand and control more territories and more people. And radical Islam has designs openly on the West, on the United States, on Europe. We've seen that progress there as well. And they are prepared to conduct acts of terrorism. In the case of Iran, nation-state actions, assassinations, murders, you name it, whatever it takes for them to gain their influence and ultimately their domination of different cultures and societies. That's a clear and imminent threat to the world and to the broader West, but especially to the United States, who they identify as the chief source of evil on the planet. Okay, the reason why they hate the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, the leadership of the UAE, of Bahrain, is because they've allowed the United States to partner with them. That's why they hate them. They consider them infidels for it. They hate Israel. But they also hate America. And they hate anywhere in the world that we have influence. They seek to attack it, including here in the homeland. If you look at the domestic terrorists, at the attacks that have happened here domestically, the overwhelming majority of them have been inspired by radical Islamic viewpoints. And that includes the shooting in the Pulse nightclub in Orlando, Florida. That includes the Saudi pilot in Pensacola, my home state, 2 attacks.
Okay. I thought that was really profound. Now, what we don't have time today, I mentioned to you this incident in Stockton, California. I'm going to still keep those on the soundbite roster. I want to spend some more time with that. Also, one of the things that took place, Senator Rick Scott out of Florida talked about public housing and also the Mamdani election. I don't have time today to get into it because he is old school. And by that, I mean Senator Scott's belief is that no one really wants to be on welfare. Nobody really wants to be on public housing, go into public housing. Nobody wants to live being dependent on the federal government for their lives. And I happen to think, and I don't know about you, and maybe we'll open up the phones on this tomorrow if we get a chance to play the Rick Scott. I don't know about you, but I think that's misreading what is happening right now in America. I don't think there is any stigma attached anymore to suckling on the government teat. I don't think that there's, yes, Carlos, I said that, and it's perfectly fine because it's true. I don't think that there's any hope or aspiration in some cases that people can do better for large swaths of our population. Some of the other things that we will touch on before the week is out in San Francisco, they've sued Coca-Cola, Kellogg, and others. Yesterday, San Francisco became the first government to file a lawsuit against food manufacturers over ultra-processed snacks and drinks that officials there say are wreaking havoc on America's health. The lawsuit names 10 of the most popular food manufacturers: Kraft Heinz Company, Mondelez International, Post Holdings, the Coca-Cola Company, PepsiCo, General Mills, Nestle, USA, Kellogg, Mars Incorporated, and the Conagra brands. And it says the food industry knows its products are making people sick, but they continue to market addictive foods to maximize their profits. There's the Judge Boasberg. Oh, you probably heard, what's her name? Crockett defaulted on some payment. People are making a big deal out of it. It's minor. She'll figure it out. But also, huge story. We got to take a break. There was a huge story. I hope maybe Princess Diana, maybe we can just touch on this Saturday. If there's a huge story in the New York Times about how bad morale is at the State Department, our diplomats. The diplomats are so unhappy. You know why they're unhappy? Because they don't want to, because Trump has his own foreign policy, and it's not like theirs, I think, is the real bottom line. Anyway, we got to take a quick break.
The Rush Hour with James Golden on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Rush Hour with James Golden. Entertaining and informative on the Red Apple Podcast Network. It's the Rush Hour with James Golden.
Goes by the pseudonym Bo Snerdley.
Rush. Now, here's James Golden.
One of the other things that's been in the news, Elise Stefanik and Mike Johnson have had apparently a sit-down. She kind of went off on him in an interview with the Wall Street Journal, called him ineffective leader, said he's barely in control of the conference, it's all bubbling over. Compared him to Kevin McCarthy, who she says was a political animal. He's a political novice, and boy, does it show up. Accused the House Republicans of underperforming under his watch. She wanted something in the bill. It's in there. They sat down. Apparently, they made up. I hate to see this because I like both of them. I love both of them, actually. I think Stefanik is just great. I think Mike Johnson did this. She criticized him for keeping the caucus out during the shutdown. I thought it was a brilliant move. So the House couldn't screw it up. Anyway, more on that later. And this Obamacare thing is still bubbling up out there. But it's time for us to leave. So we leave you today with the voice of Andy Williams. Heavenly birthday today for him, born in 1928. Those of you old enough to remember will remember the Andy Williams TV show. That age in America, the different age. And also you might remember, those of you old enough to remember Andy Williams, I'll never forget this, singing at the funeral of Robert Kennedy Jr., Senator Kennedy, after he was assassinated. May God bless, protect each and every single one of you, your family, your loved ones. Love and gratitude, my friends, for your being here with me, allowing me to be with you. God willing, we're back tomorrow for the Thursday edition of Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour, fastest hour in American media. Until then, I bid you adieu. Bye.
Thanks for listening to Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour. You can hear Bo Snerdley's Rush Hour weekdays at 4 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?
Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.